Hello everyone, and boy do we just have the perfect show for you today. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Spencer Walsh. Here's what we got on the rundown for you. Today, in a shifting story, Saudi Arabia may admit that the dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed, in fact, but possibly by rogue killers. We'll take a look at the validity of that hint, not very valid. Trump is setting up a trap for Democrats to fall into. A showdown in Georgia is a reflection of probably one of the biggest things happening in this midterms, voting rights fight. And Elizabeth Warren released her DNA and her DNA tests to appease conservatives. Bad idea. They didn't buy it at all. Alright, that's all on today's show. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. My name is Spencer Walsh, and you're listening to Newsflash. Obviously, before we get into anything, if you like the show, please rate, subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Really appreciate it. And follow me at SPW272 and Spencer Walsh Radio Network at TSWRN on Twitter. So that's pretty much it. And now let's get right into it. So yeah, Saudi Arabia, they were preparing an alternative explanation of the fate of a dissident journalist on Monday, saying that he died in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul 2 weeks ago in an interrogation gone wrong. So yeah, that's apparently what they have cooked up with this guy. None of that really, though, appears to be accurate. And in Washington, President Trump echoed the possibility that Jamal Khashoggi could be killed by rogue killers after just discussing this with the prince. And yeah, and Tell me the prince. Tell me first. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell you the prince's narrative, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, what he wants us to think, what he's going to be pushing out there, which is, they want to admit that this Saudi journalist was killed, but it could be by some rogue killers. And here's Trump repeating exactly what he said.
Mike Pompeo is leaving literally within an hour or so. He's heading to Saudi Arabia. We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows? We're going to try getting to the bottom of it very soon. But his was a flat denial.
Yeah, so apparently that means that he probably believes it. We don't know. Sorry about that. But like that just does not seem to be, again, very convincing to anyone except for him, which is a little funny there because, like, a flat denial, of course he would make a flat denial. He's probably the one who's most gained from losing out on this, from denying this situation and doing it falsely because he's the one being accused of murdering a journalist. So this new explanation has potentially, it's pretty much been created to ease the political crisis that Khashoggi's disappearance has created for Saudi Arabia. The news story could diffuse some criticism of the Trump administration, which has refused to back down from billions of dollars in weapon sales to the kingdom, and as of Monday is still planning a glittering investment in the Saudi forum next week. So yeah, that big future investment forum that you've heard everyone be talking about. Yeah, that's next week, and the Trump administration still has pretty much refused to back down and say maybe, okay, we'll try and cut it out. We'll at least not come to this big conference while we still have one of our U.S. journalists possibly murdered by them, and we still haven't resolved the situation yet. Yeah, but we're still going to go to the conference because we need their money here. And it couldn't help Turkey, where a shaky economy would benefit from financial infusion that loans from Riyadh. I keep calling it Riyadh. I don't know why. Riyadh is the correct name. But the truth is, like, everyone pretty much has something to benefit, really, including the Washington Post, from making this story pretty much just go away. And they have a lot of business again in front of Saudi Arabia. They need to get it taken care of, and they just aren't going to really investigate this too much. Like, we're seeing that sign come into account pretty much every day. So yeah, and that's pretty much all because like everyone has financial interest to gain, including the U.S. And the U.S. like really they do not seem interested in investigating this at any point. And the question is, would there be if there was another president in office, like if Hillary was in office, by the way, whose husband has met with the crown prince as well, even though he's not the president? I mean, like, do you think really she would have done anything different? Like, to me, this is like a broader story about who the U.S. wants. Like what? Sorry, what the U.S. elites want. Like what they broadly prefer and how they're going to get that given to them no matter what, because they're the ones who control pretty much everything in our society today. Although some have pulling out, maybe they misread the momentum. It's certainly very possible they misread what was going to happen here, and they probably were a little bit too soon, because now we have Trump coming in power of the situation at last. He's pretty much been wishy-washy on it for the past couple of days, and now he's really coming up and taking some pretty affirmative action on this, and it's not looking good for the people who pull it out. And this pretty much looks like it's going to go ahead on at schedule. And I mean, I really think if Hillary Clinton was in office, not too much would have happened differently. But the only thing that would have happened differently is that she wouldn't have made it like this obvious that she was doing whatever MBS told her to, and she was pretty much in his pocket. Because probably she wouldn't be. She just probably would figure out a way to maneuver the situation and the circumstances into so that there could be an easy way, just a slide right in scenario for Hillary Clinton, but they could just like kind of like I guess like a fig leaf to make it acceptable for all of America's elites to just travel to Saudi Arabia in this particular circumstance. Yeah, so like that's kind of my theory about what she would have done, what would have happened there, but I just don't know because obviously she hasn't done it yet. But that's just my theory, because remember, Bill Clinton met with MBS too. Like it's something that extends throughout the landscape of the elites of America today. So that's a very, very important thing to realize. So yeah, although I mean, it really is a shame that nothing's going to really change, because we should really. This is a perfect opportunity, and if the public momentum was strong enough, like we could rethink our relationship with Saudi Arabia. Like it's very possible we should have a good way to like this is a perfect excuse for doing like what we really need to do for a long period of time, which is like reshape our relationship with Saudi Arabia, because we do so many bad things with them. We have a strategic relationship with them that does not really pan out on either side, and why not just rethink it a little bit and just add some common sense? Like I think that's it's a perfectly logical thing to do that many people are not going to do, many people don't want to do, but just for the best interest of those kids in Yemen and just our moral compass here, I think it's better that we shift it. But yeah, so apparently here's how we're getting this narrative. Trump spoke with King Salman of Saudi Arabia on Monday morning in a 20-minute phone call. The president said the king denied any knowledge of what happened to Khashoggi, a columnist for the Washington Post who had been critical of the crown prince. According to the New York Times, it sounded like to me, like as we read you the quote, that those could have been these could have been rogue killers, but who knows? Yes, rogue killers with private jets, just randomly. Like they're working from like some super secret detective agency. Like what the heck? I don't know. It seems like it's a little weird situation that these could be rogue killers. Yeah, so Turkish officials, again, have said that Khashoggi was killed in December as he disappeared in the Saudi consulate 2 weeks ago. I think it's good that they could possibly release that proof, but anyway, we will have to see on that front. All right, so that's it for that Saudi Arabian nightmare going on right now. Now we turn them back to Democratic politics, which will be fascinating. The Hill reports that Trump is making overtures to the Democrats to continue to hold the advantage as they continue to hold the advantage in House polls. And this is a very good idea, because you always trust the Democrats to do what's right for the situation, and you always favor them in a negotiating deal with the Republicans, even if it's Donald Trump. Like, the Democrats have the upper hand. Yeah, just kidding. No, you're very nervous about anything they do. Anytime they interact with the Republicans, they're like, no, stop it. Yeah. White House officials have already apparently begun preliminary talks internally and with Democratic lawmakers about areas where they could work together in 2019. The president's always ready to deal. Always, Shira Knight, the White House legislative director, said in an interview with The Hill. There's a chance that we get along, and we got along well. We have a lot of things, like infrastructure, that they want and that I want. Except for, like, infrastructure is probably the only thing that you guys both want. And he said that Trump did in that one of his rare moments of lucidity from an otherwise unhinged Fox and Friends rant last week. At first glance, though, it may be a little bit surprising that less than a month out from the election, the White House is publicly acknowledging the decreasing likelihood the GOP is going to stay in control of the House of Representatives. And, of course, in front of his fans, Trump talks about a red wave, but we just don't quite know that's going to be happening. And here's a spoiler, it's not going to be happening because some of the polls show, but I think the only question is really how big of a blue wave will it be? And I really feel guilty about saying this because I don't want to eat my words. November 6th, we're covering it live, and it's like Republicans retain control of the House. Oh my gosh, I would jump off a bridge live on the air. Yeah, I would jump off the roof of the studio and kill myself. Like, no. I'm kidding. I would never do that. Yeah, so the crowds at my rallies, Trump says, are far bigger than they have ever been before, including the 2016 election. Never an empty seat in those venues. Many thousands of people watching on the screen. That's that. No. It was like 5. Enthusiasm and spirits through the roof. Something big is happening. Watch. Yeah, the White House informally talking about Democrats about infrastructure should be in no way interpreted as Trump preparing for a Bill Clinton-style pivot to the center. Because one of the main things is that Trump's idea of an infrastructure plan, if you don't remember, rested on $800 billion in incentives and tax breaks for rich people and corporations to come in and do that. Not the way an infrastructure plan should be done, which is centered mostly around the public sector, which is very disturbing. Richard Neal, the top Democrat on the House and Ways and Means Committee, clearly said clearly the administration might be able to move to do some infrastructure work with us, but infrastructure really seems to be, hopefully, the only thing that they plan to work on together, because I don't know if I trust them to work on anything else together, or really on this immigration bill. Like, yeah, tax breaks for the rich, it's alright. Yeah, hopefully is Richard Neal in a competitive district? Yeah, we don't know. So, anyway, that's going to be something definitely worth it. Watching and paying attention to. We're really gonna need to look at this. So, the administration is continuing its sabotage of the Affordable Care Act in the courts. Trump and the GOP just put a man accused of sexual assault by multiple women on the Supreme Court, and it's more likely that they'll hang on to the Senate and the House, which could give them a third nominee before the 2020 election, should something happen to Stephen Breyer or Ruth Bader Ginsburg, both of which are increasingly likely as time wears on, especially Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's literally like the faith of the Republic depends on her or Stephen Breyer or pretty much everyone else on the court just staying around right now. So yeah, if the GOP loses the House, it'll magically convince them that they need to moderate as well as they did losing 2 presidential elections in a row in 2008 and 2012 did. So yeah, yeah, they're not going to moderate. The GOP is not going to be slowing down at any time soon. They are going to be focused on bringing one thing and one thing only, which is like the most possible pain. They're going to bring the pain. We should bring the pain, and we should not work at all with the Democrats with the Republicans unless they come with an idea to us, and we are the ones who have to consider. Like, there's no negotiation. There's proposals, and there's rejections and exceptions, because that's the only way it should be in a situation like this. Like, that's the only way anything like this is acceptable, because there has to be some, at least originally, there has to be some kind of, okay, is this good? They need to come to us for approval. We don't need to come to them. So, like, that's the way it should work. And so, I mean, no matter what happens November 6th, this whole shit show is not going to end.